Chapter 99. Even ants dare to call themselves kings? Let's go take a look. Liu Feng gestured to the group, quickened his pace, and walked towards the crowd that had gathered not far ahead. As Liu Feng and his group entered the crowd, they saw Ji Lai burning with rage, and behind him, the young experts of the Dragon Hammer tribe also looked furious. Opposite them were 4 or 5 young men, who were playing with a bronze mirror in their hands. A powerful energy fluctuation emanated from it, clearly indicating that it was a pretty good magic weapon. What's going on? Liu Feng frowned, looking at Ji Lai with some confusion. Ji Lai did not answer, but the young man behind him spoke first. Yinglong, these people deliberately caused trouble. We discovered this magic treasure first, but these people appeared halfway and interfered, taking the treasure first. Oh. Liu Feng looked surprised. Ji Lai was not an easy person to talk to, but he was wary of taking action against these people. Why was that? So you're Yinglong, the newcomer from the Dragon Hammer tribe, with only the cultivation of a first-tier swordsman? Ji Lai, I originally considered you a worthy opponent, but I didn't expect you to be unable to even defeat such trash. You've really disappointed me. The blood-robed man at the head of the group shifted his gaze to Liu Feng. When he saw Liu Feng's cultivation level, a look of contempt appeared in his eyes as he mocked him. This guy is called Zong Tu, and he's no ordinary character. His strength is unmatched among the younger generation of the Fire Python tribe. I didn't expect to run into him here. But more importantly, behind the Fire Python tribe is the Thunderfall tribe, Zhang Yan whispered to Liu Feng. The Fire Python tribe. Liu Feng raised an eyebrow. He had originally thought it was just some noble force in the desolate region, but he didn't expect this person to have such a status. No wonder he was so arrogant when facing Ji Lai. With the support of the Zhonglei tribe, it's no wonder Ji Lai was so hesitant. Hand over the treasure, then get lost, Liu Feng said calmly. What? Zong Tu was furious that Liu Feng dared to tell him to get lost, but he didn't rush to attack. Instead, he said with a gloomy face, It seems you want to die. After saying that, he sneered, clenched his fist, and a jade talisman shot out, exploding in mid-air. The dazzling fireworks transformed into a pattern like a fiery python. Whoosh! As soon as the pattern appeared, the sky was filled with the sound of wind breaking, and figures rushed towards this direction. They were all experts from the Fire Python tribe who had received the signal. However, some young men with lightning patterns embroidered on their robes also rushed over. Liu Feng merely raised his eyes, showing no intention of making a move. Instead, he shook his head and said, I originally thought you were someone important, but now it seems you're nothing more than a dog relying on its master's power. Zong Tu was furious upon hearing this. Just as he was about to speak, a look of joy suddenly flashed in his eyes. He abruptly looked up and gazed at a point in mid-air, where a violent sound of wind breaking suddenly resounded. Then, a burly figure, enveloped in brilliant lightning, descended from the sky like a thunder god and landed behind him. Ha ha! You mere first-level swordsman trash dares to tell my men to get lost? Make your move, let me see if you're qualified. As soon as the lightning figure appeared, an extremely arrogant laugh boomed out. When that voice rang out, Ji Lai's face suddenly darkened. He stared at the figure, his expression cold, and he uttered each word through gritted teeth. Little Thunder King, Thunder Spring. When Liu Feng heard the chilling words coming from Ji Lai's mouth, his eyes suddenly narrowed. He then looked at the burly figure not far ahead, whose body was flashing like arcs of lightning. Was this guy the Little Thunder King of the Thunder-slaying tribe? So it's you, the defeated enemy of the Dragon Hammer tribe. What, wasn't the last trial enough? Do you want to be tortured again? The lightning on the burly figure began to recede and finally disappeared completely, revealing a rugged face. However, at this moment, that face was filled with an undisguised arrogance. He looked at Ji Lai and the others with a mocking gaze and grinned. Your nickname is Little Thunder King? Liu Feng's expression remained unchanged, but a smile appeared on his lips. Lei Quan narrowed his eyes upon hearing this, a hint of coldness flashing in his gaze. What, do you have a problem with that? I have no opinion, Liu Feng smiled, but a mocking smile played on his lips. I only have one sentence to say. Raising his eyelids slightly, Liu Feng's lips curled into a cryptic smile. An ant like you dares to call yourself king? Only a peerless expert like the Sword King deserves the title of king. Lei Quan, who is only at the level of a swordmaster, has given himself the title of Little Thunder King. In Liu Feng's opinion, this is utterly ridiculous. What did you say? As soon as Liu Feng finished speaking, Lei Quan's smile froze, and his eyes turned icy cold. He hated it most when people talked about his title. The title of Little Thunder King was indeed something he gave himself. Even the elders of the clan chief were somewhat dissatisfied with it. It was only with the consent of the clan chief of the Zhonglei tribe that the title was barely retained. There is no Sword King on the Snow Continent, as the saying goes, when the tiger is away, the monkey is king. Many powerful figures secretly despise Lei Quan, this Little Thunder King, but keep quiet because of his imposing presence. Unexpectedly, Liu Feng has publicly revealed this, which has enraged and humiliated him. I was going to make you kneel down and admit your mistake, but now, I won't be satisfied until I break one of your legs. Everyone shook their heads. It seemed that things wouldn't end well today. People gathered around, staring at Liu Feng with great curiosity. They were eager to see what methods this unknown young man from the Dragon Hammer tribe possessed to contend with Lei Quan of the Thunderfall tribe. Yinglong, this person is troublesome, we must not be careless. Ji Lai said with some worry, staring at Liu Feng's back. Liu Feng nodded slightly, and then he stopped hesitating and took a step forward. In the next instant, his eyes suddenly became sharp, and a huge wave of magic power swept out. His figure left a blur as he rushed straight towards Lei Quan. It seemed that he was going to confront Lei Quan head-on. Court death. Upon seeing Liu Feng's actions, the Fire Python tribe members immediately sneered. Liu Feng was only at the first level, and even though his combat power was extraordinary, Lei Quan in front of them had already stepped into the fourth level and was much stronger than Ji Lai. Ji Lai and Zhang Yan also looked worried, but they didn't say anything. Although they had confidence in Liu Feng's strength, Lei Quan was clearly superior. However, they also knew that Liu Feng was not a reckless person, and since he had done this, he must have his own considerations. Hiss. As Liu Feng rapidly approached, Lei Quan suddenly erupted with dazzling lightning, which quickly coalesced into streaks of electricity, radiating a violent wave. I'll show you just how big the gap is between us. With a single step, Lei Quan drew a precious sword covered in arcs of lightning. Brilliant lightning surged wildly across his body, converging on the blade. The dancing arcs of electricity instantly covered the blade, emitting crackling and popping sounds. Raging thunder divine blade, thunder shakes across the 8 desolations. Lei Quan swung his sword, and the lightning arcs on his body exploded. The ground beneath his feet suddenly cracked inch by inch, and a storm of lightning swept outwards. Lei Quan unleashed a deadly attack right from the start, incredibly ruthless, aiming to cripple Liu Feng with a single strike, giving him no chance whatsoever. If this strike landed, even a third-tier swordsman would be severely injured. Chapter 100 The Heir of the Wilderness Marquis. Facing the fierce blade light, Liu Feng's dark eyes remained calm. Without even drawing his sword, he took a step forward, his right fist transforming into a dragon as he unleashed a powerful strike. Bang! Like two meteorites colliding, they unleashed a deafening roar. It was a head-on clash, without a trace of fancy moves. After a gust of wind, the two figures remained motionless. In this exchange, neither side gave an inch, and the two were evenly matched. Humph! Thunder shakes the ocean. A cold glint flashed in Lei Quan's eyes. He stomped his foot backward, creating a large crater in the ground. His violent true energy poured into the blade, erupting with dazzling lightning that spread out in a fan shape, transforming into a sea of lightning. The blade's speed was incredibly fast, and the two were extremely close. The lightning rapidly magnified in Liu Feng's pupils, flashing wildly. Die! A chilling smile appeared on Lei Quan's lips, and a murderous glint flashed in his eyes. Click! The lightning blade pierced through Liu Feng's body, leaving a deep crack in the ground that stretched for a long distance. The onlookers all paled and quickly scattered to avoid it. Lei Quan's pupils suddenly contracted, sensing something was wrong. After being pierced by the blade's light, Liu Feng became illusory, like a mirage, and shattered. It was just an afterimage. At this moment, Liu Feng's true form appeared behind Lei Quan, raising the demon-slaying sword in his hand and unleashing a slash containing astonishing destructive power. Lei Quan's expression changed, and he frantically channeled his inner energy. Innate thunderous force. Countless bolts of lightning converged, condensing into a crystal-like barrier around Lei Quan. The barrier was crystal clear, with countless arcs of lightning dancing on its surface, firmly protecting Lei Quan's body. Especially behind him, the lightning arcs were frantically compressed and condensed, increasing the defensive power. Liu Feng made no changes, and the demon-slaying sword still slashed out, its momentum containing a trace of the true meaning of eternity and immortality, further enhancing its cohesive power. The lightning barrier only held for a moment before shattering, unable to block the sword light in the slightest. What? It's been broken. Zhang Tu and the others stared in shock, looking at the scene before them in disbelief. No wonder he was so surprised. The innate Thunder Chi is part of the Nine-Fiend Thunder Body, which is a low-level Earth-rank martial art of the thunder-subduing tribe. Its defense is extremely powerful. Even if they attacked with all their might, they might not be able to break through the innate Thunder Chi. But now it couldn't stop Liu Feng's sword. Roll! With his innate lightning energy broken, Lei Quan felt utterly humiliated, his face contorted with rage. A surge of violent lightning power suddenly erupted, blocking the sword light. He then abruptly turned, his left hand forming a fist, a ferocious lion's head appearing on the knuckles, and he slammed it towards Liu Feng's head. The fierce wind from the punch blew Liu Feng's hair up, making it fly in all directions. The next moment, a dragon's roar erupted from Liu Feng's body, and his empty left fist slammed out wildly as he shouted, "Earth-rising dragon!" Boom! The dragon's head and the lion's head collided fiercely, and the earth-shattering sound of explosions and thunder filled the entire space. The air was drawn out of the space, forming a vacuum zone, and the crazy aftershocks swept out in all directions, stirring up clouds of dust. The two of them each took about 10 steps back and regained their balance. The onlookers swallowed hard, staring at Liu Feng in astonishment. Where did this seemingly ordinary boy come from, that he could fight the little Thunder King Lei Quan to a draw? Lei Quan, on the other hand, had a gloomy expression. On his back, a small sword mark gradually appeared, and a trickle of blood seeped out from the mark. "You scum, I'll tear you apart alive today!" Lei Quan roared angrily. Although the small sword mark was not even a wound, it was a mark of shame. He, the dignified little Thunder King, had actually been injured by a mere first-level swordsman. This was an utter disgrace that he could not tolerate for even a moment. Just as he was about to teach Liu Feng a lesson no matter what, a light voice suddenly came from the crowd. "The barbarians in the tribe are so ignorant. They even fight over buying things. With your strength, I think you don't need to participate in this trial. The position of the #1 warrior in the great wilderness belongs to our prince Zhu Li." "Who?" Lei Quan's expression shifted, and his cold gaze turned to the crowd. The crowd slowly parted to both sides, and a young man in yellow robes stepped out from the crowd with a mocking smile on his lips. Behind him, a woman veiled in black gracefully walked out. "It's the son of the Marquis of Menghuang, the heir apparent of Xiling," someone exclaimed. "The Marquis of Menghuang?" A glint flashed in Liu Feng's eyes. Within the desolate region, below the desolate king, there are 3 great lords, the Wilderness Lord, the Savage Lord, and the Snow Desolate Lord. Their status is second only to the Desolate King, making them virtually second only to the king and above all others, holding a lofty position. "Humph, that's not necessarily true." Lei Quan snorted coldly. At this moment, a hint of apprehension flashed deep in his eyes. Putting aside the fact that the other party was the son of the Marquis of Menghuang and held a prestigious position, he dared not underestimate him in the slightest based on the fourth-order fluctuations emanating from him. Upon hearing this, the Prince of Xiling merely smiled coldly, neither agreeing nor disagreeing. Instead, he turned his gaze to Liu Feng, his expression one of surprise, and said, "With only a first-level cultivation, you can fight Lei Quan to a standstill. It seems that the Dragon Hammer tribe has made considerable progress this year." "You flatter me." Liu Feng waved his hand slightly and said indifferently. "Hee." The Prince of Xiling smiled slightly, a hint of coldness in his eyes. "I hope you have good luck and don't encounter our Royal Cities team in the first 2 levels, otherwise, I will not show any mercy." Liu Feng frowned, then said noncommittally, "Even if we encounter them, so what? It's still uncertain who will emerge victorious. As soon as he finished speaking, everyone looked at Liu Feng with surprise. Isn't this kid afraid of death, daring to speak to the Crown Prince of Xiling like that? People from other tribes, when encountering the Crown Princes of the three great lords, would either bow and scrape or be extremely respectful. Where would they find a kid like this who dares to speak so directly to them? In their eyes, Liu Feng's strength was not bad, but compared to the Crown Princes, there was still some gap. After all, even Little Thunder King Lei Quan's combat power was somewhat inferior to this Crown Prince of Xiling. A gentle breeze swept across the arena, stirring up a wisp of dust before drifting away, leaving the entire arena silent. "Ha ha, interesting." The Crown Prince of Xiling chuckled, saying nothing more, then suddenly turned to the woman in black veil behind him and said, "Princess, did you hear that clearly? This young man seems to think he doesn't take us seriously." "What, princess?" As soon as the Crown Prince of Xiling finished speaking, it caused an uproar among the crowd. The entire Wilderness clan only had one princess. If it wasn't her, then who could it be? Under the astonished gazes of the crowd, the woman in the black veil slowly raised her jade-like hand and removed the black veil covering her head, revealing a face of unparalleled beauty. She removed her veil, and her long black hair cascaded down to her incredibly slender waist like a waterfall. Her skin was as white as snow and as smooth as cream, and a complex emotion flickered in her dark, beautiful eyes. Instantly, the gazes of the surrounding crowd suddenly became intense, all eyes focusing on the girl. Who else could possess such a face before me but Princess Lingyun? Oh no! Liu Feng thought to himself, this is bad. He hadn't expected to encounter Princess Lingyun at this critical moment. This timing was not good. What if she recognized him? However, he did not expect that the graceful woman under the black veil would take a few steps closer to him, then extend her jade-like hand and smile gently. "Yinglong, is it? It's a pleasure to meet you." Chapter 101 The Night Before the Trial. Nice to meet you." Liu Feng was a little stunned, but he immediately reached out and took her slender hand in his. Seeing this scene, the onlookers were dumbfounded. The heated atmosphere brought about by Lei Quan and Liu Feng just a moment ago vanished in an instant, leaving only a deep sense of shock on the scene. At this moment, a look of astonishment appeared on the face of the Crown Prince of Xiling. Clearly, Princess Lingyun's actions were far beyond his expectations. Normally, aside from a few other princes, she was always extremely aloof and rarely interacted with any men. Even though they had long admired Princess Lingyun, she had never reciprocated, maintaining a lukewarm attitude. Yet now, she was shaking hands with a strange man. Why was that? A surge of jealousy suddenly ignited in the heart of the Prince of Xiling. He then gave a cold laugh. It seemed necessary to teach this brat a lesson in hierarchy during the Holy Land trial 3 days later. Similarly, the others were also filled with resentment. In their eyes, Princess Lingyun was like a goddess, untouchable in the slightest. Therefore, any kindness she showed to any man would arouse their jealousy. Liu Feng seemed oblivious to the hostile stares around him, maintaining a faint smile on his face. However, he was secretly relieved that the other party hadn't directly exposed his identity. It was a stroke of luck amidst misfortune. In fact, Princess Lingyun recognized Liu Feng at first glance, and her first thought was to find him. However, after thinking about it for a moment, she felt something was wrong. This person was clearly a spy of the Northern Snow Empire, so how did he suddenly become Yinglong of the Dragon Hammer tribe? There must be something fishy going on here. Ever since Liu Feng saw her naked that day, she had been filled with hatred, wishing she could tear him to pieces immediately. However, after some time, things began to change. Liu Feng's wicked face would frequently appear in her dreams, causing her to lose her appetite and become extremely conflicted for a long period. Just when she was about to forget about it, this bastard suddenly appeared in front of her. If Liu Feng's identity were exposed on the spot, the other party would definitely die without a burial place, so she was still somewhat hesitant. However, just as she was pondering this, Liu Feng suddenly leaned close to her ear and whispered a sentence, 3 characters that drifted into her ears. "You." Upon hearing these 3 words, which sounded like demonic chants, Princess Lingyun was struck dumb, as if by lightning. Just as everyone was filled with suspicion, Liu Feng suddenly shuddered, flew backward, his face turned pale, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. "Yinglong, are you all right?" Several young men from the Dragon Hammer tribe rushed out and helped Liu Feng up. Steadying himself, Liu Feng's breathing was slightly disordered, and a look of pain appeared on his face. The princess's true energy is indeed profound. I am deeply impressed. As soon as the words fell, everyone present was stunned, staring at Princess Ling Yun in disbelief. That brief handshake just now, were these two actually competing in internal energy? Princess Ling Yun was also slightly taken aback, but then she reacted and sneered, I cultivate the great wilderness true martial technique. The depth of my true energy is naturally incomparable to that of a tribal barbarian like you. How laughable that you dare to challenge me, you are truly courting death. Upon hearing this, the gloom on the Prince of Shiling's face immediately vanished, replaced by a smile. The princess's strength is beyond doubt. This brat brought trouble upon himself. It's only right to teach him a lesson. Let's go. Princess Ling Yun slowly turned around, and before leaving, she gave Liu Feng a meaningful look. Those 3 words were none other than Chu Tianhen. After the two left, the surrounding crowd gradually dispersed, with a few remaining to see if any more interesting things would happen. You ignorant brat, you've offended Princess Ling Yun. You'll die a horrible death. I won't even need to deal with you. Lei Quan chuckled, his face grim. Liu Feng's offense against Princess Ling Yun was tantamount to offending the entire team from the desolate domain royal city. This team was the strongest in this trial, including Prince Zhu Li of the desolate domain and the other 3 princes' sons, a gathering of experts. The title of the last champion had been won by Prince Zhu Li. Let's go. As soon as Lei Quan finished speaking, he waved his hand and led the Fire Python tribe people through the crowd, quickly disappearing into the distance. With Lei Quan gone, the 2 tribes naturally stopped causing any trouble, and the crowd that had gathered finally dispersed completely. Let's go back too. Liu Feng slowly pushed away the people supporting him, his expression returning to normal. In truth, he wasn't injured at all. The earlier stunt was merely an act. He used magic to reverse the flow of his blood, creating the illusion of injury. Otherwise, he probably wouldn't have been able to deceive the Prince of Shiling and Lei Quan. When Liu Feng and the others returned to the Dragon Hammer tribe's encampment, they saw Elder Tian Feng standing there with a serious expression. Behind him were many Dragon Hammer tribesmen, who were clearly relieved to see Liu Feng and the others return. You had a conflict with Lei Quan? Elder Tian Feng frowned, staring at Liu Feng, Ji Lai, and the others, and said in a deep voice. Liu Feng nodded, just about to say something, when Elder Tian Feng turned around and his aged voice came out, Yinglong, come with me. The two entered a room with all sides closed and sat down at a wooden table. Elder Tianfeng's expression was solemn as he asked directly, Have you seen Princess Ling Yun? Liu Feng glanced around warily before nodding. I've already revealed some information to her. She should know my true identity, but she didn't expose me on the spot. She probably knows something about the previous generation. He probably knows some things, but not much, Elder Tianfeng said thoughtfully, then added, For the next few days, you should stay home and avoid going out. Just stay at the camp to avoid attracting the attention of Xian Ye's people. No. Liu Feng nodded. He had run into such a thing on his first trip out. Who could guarantee that he wouldn't encounter an even more powerful figure next time? If Xian Yi discovered any clues, he would be finished. All his previous efforts would be in vain, and all his hard work would be in vain. Night gradually enveloped the vast wilderness, and the hustle and bustle of that day gradually quieted down under the cool night breeze. Beneath the towering pagoda reaching into the clouds stood several magnificent halls, surrounded by a thick iron wall, forming the residence of the royal family of the desolate region. Behind one of the side halls was a large courtyard, where two figures emerged in the night. One of them was Princess Ling Yun, whom Liu Feng had met during the day. Opposite Princess Ling Yun stood a handsome young man with a slightly effeminate face. Who else could he be but the young man who had entangled with Liu Feng in the desolate king's treasury? At this moment, the young man's eyes kept wandering over the girl, filled with burning desire. Sister Ling Yun, I heard that a young man from the Dragon Hammer tribe was disrespectful to you during the day. Should I grab him now and give him a good beating? The handsome young man said with a smile, a hint of coldness creeping into his lips. No need. Princess Ling Yun frowned slightly. The young man before her was none other than Zhu Li, the heir apparent and son of the desolate King Xianyi. Like his father, he was ruthless and treated human life as worthless. She did not like this kind of person. "That won't do," the handsome young man smiled, a smile that sent chills down one's spine. "If this kind of brat isn't properly punished, he'll never learn his place. I'll leave him alone for the next few days. Once we get to the Holy Land, I'll have some fun with him." For a long time, he had considered the girl in front of him as his own, and anyone who wanted to lay a finger on her would have to pay a bloody price. Upon hearing this, Princess Lingyun's eyes showed a hint of worry. Given Zhu Li's ruthlessness, Liu Feng was likely in deep trouble. However, since Zhu Li's attempt to infiltrate the Desolate clan's sacred land was probably aimed at the sacred beast, Desolate, perhaps she should secretly lend a hand. Chapter 102 The First Floor of the Holy Land. Chu Lingyun was not entirely ignorant of the secrets surrounding the desolate King Chu Tianhen. Although the elders in the royal family who were loyal to Chu Tianhen's lineage had been eliminated long ago, she had heard an elder talk about her grandfather and father when she was young. However, not long after telling her about this, the elder was executed by Xianyi, and from then on, she had no one she could trust. From then on, she could only bury the seeds of hatred in her heart, hoping that one day she would have a chance to take revenge. However, as more than 10 years passed and the long wait gradually buried her desire for revenge, the hatred buried deep in her heart was gradually forgotten. Today, the name Chu Tianhen once again entered her mind, and the person who uttered this name was none other than that scoundrel, Liu Feng. Does that also foreshadow that the opportunity for revenge will come to her with the arrival of this person? 3 days later, the day of the Holy Land trial finally arrived, and the news quickly spread to every corner of the city, causing quite a stir throughout the entire wasteland. The trial took place in a spot north of the desolate city. It was a bare, spacious flat area with a moss-covered stone tablet in the center, exuding an ancient and weathered feel. The teams from various tribes had been waiting in front of the stone tablet since early morning, but the high-ranking members of the Wilderness tribe did not arrive until late afternoon. Liu Feng looked up and saw that all the high-ranking members of the Desolate clan were floating in the air. There were about a dozen dark figures in the shadows. The leader among them had an extraordinary demeanor, with eyes as sharp as a hawk's and eyebrows like swords. He wore a blue robe embroidered with a primordial beast with a sheep's face, a human body, tiger teeth, and dragon claws. He exuded a kingly aura that made the people below almost unable to breathe. This person must be the desolate King Xianyi. Liu Feng squinted his eyes. Judging from the aura emanating from the latter, as well as from the respectful expressions on the faces of the elders behind him, he was certain of the man's identity. Although he had never met this person before, his first impression of him was that this person was a ruthless and cunning man, and that he must be the kind of person who would kill without blinking an eye. He seemed to be able to sense some of the characteristics of Qin Shi Huang Ing Zheng from his previous life. The sacred ground of the Wilderness clan is located underground beneath Liu Feng and his companions' feet. As for how to activate the sacred ground, it requires the keys of the Wilderness domain and the 8 major tribes, as indicated on the Great Wilderness Ancient Stele. There are a total of 9 keys, and you cannot activate it without even one. Having been recognized in the Desolate King's treasury before, Liu Feng deliberately changed his attire and appearance today. He changed his white clothes into blue ones, and his face was painted with a special gray-black color, making it very rough. His facial features were also slightly distorted, becoming much more rugged. When Prince Zhu Li first saw Liu Feng, a sense of familiarity washed over him, as if he had seen him somewhere before. But something didn't seem right, and after much thought, he couldn't figure it out, so he quickly dismissed the idea. In his mind, once they were underground, Liu Feng would definitely get a beating from him. A cold, emotionless voice suddenly rang out from the sky. "Now that all the young talents of each tribe have arrived, tribal elders, take out your keys and prepare to open the sacred ground." As soon as he finished speaking, the man in blue took out a silver-white key, pointed it at the ancient stele in mid-air, and the key suddenly turned into a silver light, as fast as a shooting star, and accurately inserted itself into one of the keyholes on the stele. Buzz. As the key was inserted, the ancient stele immediately burst forth with a dazzling purple light, which instantly transformed into a pillar of light that shot into the sky and disappeared into the clouds. Boom! The earth began to tremble, and the ancient stele shone brightly. A formation emitting a strange black light appeared, and then expanded and spread at a speed visible to the naked eye, extending to a radius of 1,000 meters. As the formation took shape, the 8 elders each took a step forward, their keys transforming into beams of light of different colors that disappeared into the ancient steel. Buzz. In an instant, 8 different colored rays of light radiated outwards from the stone tablet, converging at 8 points within the black array. The next moment, the 8 rays of light converged again from all directions, transforming into a blazing, multicolored sun at the center of the array. Boom! The blazing sun seemed unable to withstand the pressure from all sides, and its immense energy exploded, heading directly towards the north and south poles. Click! Beneath the formation, the earth slowly cracked open to both sides, revealing a fissure a kilometer long and bottomless. The tremors only ceased when the fissure was about 10 meters long. Below the 1,000-meter-long fissure, about 10 feet deep, at the extreme of the fissure, rocks shattered and fell, revealing a gate that looked like it was forged from black iron. Suddenly, the array trembled, and beams of light burst forth from it, transforming into a rain of light that swept out and struck the giant gate. With a deafening roar, the gate slowly swung open amidst the rosy light. As soon as the door opened, a gust of gray, eerie wind blew out. Wherever it passed, all the young experts undergoing the trial suddenly felt a strange shiver, and the hairs on their skin stood on end as if someone were pressing a sharp blade against them. The pitch-black door was covered by a faint gray aura, obscuring the view inside and adding to the eerie atmosphere. The gates to the Holy Land have opened. This trial has begun. All clansmen, please enter the Holy Land. As soon as the words were spoken, the 9 teams rushed into the crevice without hesitation, and the scene behind the gate was immediately clear. After the darkness subsided, Liu Feng couldn't help but gasp. Not far beyond the door lay a vast expanse of black earth. Not a blade of grass grew on it. Even the soil and rocks were jet black, stretching as far as the eye could see. Scattered across the ground were countless corpses, and ravines dotted the landscape. Black energy occasionally wafted through the air, transforming into howling winds that swept down with the wails of ghosts and wolves. High above, a black canopy hung in the sky, a chaotic blur tinged with gray and blood. The gap between the sky and the ground was only 30 or 40 feet high, appearing extremely narrow, yet a strange, continuous howling wind emanated from within, as if it could devour everything. Looking out, there was no end in sight, only desolation and the lingering aura of ancient times. Only the 10 people from the Dragon Hammer tribe remained around Liu Feng. The other tribes' teams had likely been teleported elsewhere. While they were outside, Elder Tian Feng had already explained the details of the trial to them. The first trial of this holy land was to obtain a biological crystal core called Demon Bone Dragon. Click. A crisp sound came from underfoot, and Liu Feng lowered his head. What was crushed was a huge finger bone. At a glance, it was more than a meter long and 6 inches thick, very much like a human finger bone. Unfortunately, there are no humans that tall. If a finger bone is more than a meter long, the person must be at least tens of meters tall. These are the ancestors of our wilderness clan. In ancient times, they were known as the primordial giants. They possessed immense strength, but unfortunately, they became extinct tens of thousands of years ago and now only exist in historical records. Seeing Liu Feng's puzzled expression, Ji Lai explained. I see. Liu Feng suddenly realized. Let's go. The most important thing now is to find the location of the Demon Bone Dragon. Crushing the bones in his toes with force, Liu Feng walked forward step by step. The battlefield was littered with all sorts of skeletons, including those of humans, demons, and even ancient giants. However, after walking a short distance, Liu Feng realized he had been making a fuss over nothing, because the skeletons he saw next were even more bizarre. Some had horns on their skulls, others had wings on their backs, and the variety was astounding and awe-inspiring. What kind of races are these? Liu Feng stopped, squatted down, picked up a hand bone, and examined it carefully. I don't know either, Ji Lai shook his head. However, I once heard the clan chief say that in ancient times, the snow continent was not called the snow continent. The whole world was vast and boundless, connected as one piece. It was only after thousands of years of evolution that our continent was slowly separated. The ancestors who lived on this continent named it the snow continent. Legend has it that in ancient times, this continent was not inhabited by only humans. There were many other races, such as the primordial giants, and there were also the Yaksha and Asura races. Later, a great war broke out, a life-or-death struggle between humans and the other races. In the end, humans emerged victorious, and the fate of the other races became unknown. Some say they were exterminated, while others say they were sealed away somewhere. Most of these races were from ancient times, either extinct or no longer existing on our snow continent. Upon hearing this, Liu Feng also showed a thoughtful expression. The fact that this race does not exist on the snow continent does not mean that it has become extinct. It is very likely that this race still exists in other places, such as the true dragon continent. Chapter 103 Crisis Approaching. Liu Feng frowned, put down the giant bone in his hand, and sighed. What level of battle could possibly cause so many lives to die? He didn't quite understand what had happened in ancient times, but he was certain that the races of that era were far stronger than those of today. These skeletons, even after tens of thousands of years, still emanated a faint but powerful aura that should not be underestimated. It was just a pity that the bones themselves had decayed and could no longer bear this power, which was why they could be easily crushed. Suddenly, a black gale swept down from the sky above. Retreat, quickly! Liu Feng was startled and quickly activated his magic power, leaping dozens of meters away. Where he had stood, pieces of bone were scraped into the air, shredded into powder at a visible speed, and then fell back down. Fortunately, none of the others were hit by the strong winds. Otherwise, they would have been unjustly eliminated. The rules of the Holy Land state that anyone who dies within will be teleported out. While not necessarily killed, they will lose their eligibility for the trials. The entire Holy Land of the Desolate Clan is shrouded in a powerful rule, but it is actually supported by a sophisticated array. This rule was laid down by the first king of the Desolate Clan using his true essence, and then reinforced by successive Desolate kings, achieving this miraculous effect. If killed inside, one will not die but will be directly teleported out. Everyone be careful and don't get hit by this strange wind. Relieved, Liu Feng reminded the others, then had to slow down and watch the surroundings warily. In this environment, one cannot be careless in the slightest, otherwise the evil winds from the sky alone would be enough to give them a hard time. Just as Liu Feng and the others were moving forward, a huge skeleton in front of them suddenly caught their attention. In their line of sight, a huge skeleton lay on its back, covered in a dark suit of armor, which was quite eye-catching. It's actually a Dao artifact! Liu Feng exclaimed in surprise. Before he could say anything more, a young man from the Rainmaster tribe approached, his face full of surprise, and reached out his hand, trying to peel off the armor from a skeleton. Just then, from the mud on the ground, a bony hand suddenly emerged, grabbed the young man's ankle, and dragged him into the ground. The ground collapsed, and the young man's figure was instantly pulled into the ground. He let out a scream, and it seemed that his chances of survival were slim. Upon seeing this, Liu Feng's pupils suddenly contracted. Could it be that the creature hidden underground was the greatest danger in this first level? Bang, bang, bang! The ground exploded, and more than a dozen white skeletons burst out from the ground, their bodies shrouded in an evil aura. They bared their fangs and claws and pounced on Liu Feng and the others, spewing out streams of putrid black mist from their brownish-yellow mouths, corroding the air into nothingness. Destroy! With the demon-slaying sword drawn, Liu Feng met the attack with a single strike. With a soft poof, the black aura dissipated. Under the extremely strong evil-dispelling aura of the demon-slaying sword, it gave the opponent no room to resist. The sword light pierced through the skeleton's body, and then with a single stroke, the white bones exploded into dust. Among the crowd, those with strong abilities, such as Ji Lai and Zhang Yan, were able to suppress the skeletons and quickly deal with them. However, those with slightly weaker abilities did not have it so easy. Caught off guard, some were even hit by the black mist and sent flying backward, making the scene extremely chaotic. Liu Feng frowned. If the first level had already pushed them to this point, what about the second and third levels? It seemed that they needed to be extra careful from now on, otherwise they might be eliminated without warning. The situation was quickly brought under control. After all, the young experts of the Dragon Hammer tribe were not to be underestimated. A few skeletons might make them a little flustered, but they could not possibly defeat them so easily. Liu Feng walked to the skeleton and punched it into powder. Several red crystals, about the size of mung beans, floated into his hand. There were 3 crystals in total, each containing a special energy, and strange fluctuations emanated from them. Using magic, these crystals were quietly melted down. Strands of energy flowed from the palm of the hand into the body, and after a little refining, they were transformed into pure magic. The effects of this crystal core are similar to those of pills. Liu Feng's heart stirred, but he quickly stopped caring. The energy in this crystal core was limited. If it were a little larger, Liu Feng might be tempted. But a crystal the size of a mung bean would have a negligible effect on increasing magic power. However, just because he wasn't tempted didn't mean others weren't. Especially since some crystal cores could occasionally be found among the bones on the ground, the largest of which was even the size of a thumb. So for a while, everyone was enthusiastically searching for crystal cores on the ground. Seeing this, Liu Feng felt quite helpless, but even as the team leader, he couldn't go against everyone's wishes. So he decided to search around to see if there were any unexpected discoveries. Haha, the energy in these bone crystals can be refined into true qi. Everyone hurry up and look for them. At this moment, in another area of this desolate land, there was actually a small team of 9 members from the Wilderness clan. If Liu Feng were to see this team, he would be extremely surprised, because the blood-robed man leading them was none other than Zong Tu, the one who had clashed with them in the western market of the Wilderness domain that day. Haha, it seems our fire python tribe is quite lucky. We've been teleported to such a wonderful place. Not only is there no danger, but we've also obtained these energy crystals. It's all thanks to Brother Zong Tu. The only woman among the young men said with a fawning smile. This wasteland, aside from needing to avoid the black whirlwinds in the sky, is basically safe, and one can even obtain some energy crystals. It's practically the perfect place for trials. They weren't so lucky during the last trial. They were teleported directly to a sea of blood, instantly eliminating half their force. Hee, this time we're going to try to get into the 3rd level. Even if we can't win the title of the Wilderness Clan's #1 warrior, we'll still show the other tribes how powerful our fire python tribe is. That's right. With enough energy crystals, my cultivation level can be raised to a higher level. Then what are we waiting for? Let's continue to loot the remains on the ground. This wasteland is so big, there can't be only a few bodies. There should be many more. That's right. We shouldn't delay. Let's act quickly to avoid being caught up by other teams. The group discussed amongst themselves and began frantically searching through the surrounding bones for energy crystals. Not bad. After smashing the skeleton of a demonic beast, Liu Feng obtained 2 thumb-sized energy crystals. Combined with what he had obtained before, he now had a total of 8, a considerable gain. Others, such as Ji Lai and Zhang Yan, also showed joy on their faces, clearly having gained quite a bit as well. However, at this joyous moment, the ground beneath everyone's feet suddenly began to shake violently, and the vibrations became increasingly intense as time passed. Liu Feng suddenly looked up and saw that in front of him, countless black dots filled his entire field of vision, rapidly surging towards them. What is this? Liu Feng's expression changed slightly. Only when the dense black dots got closer did he see what they really looked like. There were a great many creatures before them, but none of them had skin. They were just skeletons. Most of them were humanoid, but there were also quite a few giants, aliens, and monster-like creatures. Upon seeing this scene, the joy on the faces of Ji Lai and the others behind him vanished instantly, replaced by astonishment. Liu Feng quickly scanned the skeleton army and, finding no formidable figures among them, secretly breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately, these creatures' auras weren't too strong, and even though there were probably several hundred of them, he believed he could handle them with his abilities. Suddenly, a deafening roar suddenly came from behind the horde of skeletons, the sound piercing straight into the mind and penetrating the soul. Suddenly, a gap of about 10 feet appeared in the swarm of skeletons, and a hideous black shadow, like a giant zombie dragon, slowly stepped out of the darkness and appeared in everyone's sight. Chapter 104: A Strange Aura. Demon Bone Dragon. The members of the Dragon Hammer tribe almost shouted these words in unison, their shock quickly turning into delight. They had searched high and low without finding it, only to have it come to them so easily. This zombie-like dragon before them was exactly what they were looking for. Not bad luck. A slow smile crept onto Liu Feng's lips. As long as he obtained the demon bone dragon's crystal core, He could pass the first trial, right? Ji Lai grinned and said, "A cultivator at the 3rd level of the profound rank shouldn't be too difficult to deal with. Our Dragon Hammer tribe will take down this first level of the trial." The others also showed eager expressions in their eyes. Now that they had encountered this opportunity, there was no reason for them to let it go easily. Call out. However, just as Liu Feng and his group made up their minds to make a move, a very piercing sound suddenly rang out from afar. The Dragon Hammer tribe members were startled and hurriedly turned their heads. They saw several black dots gradually appearing in the distance, getting bigger and bigger as they approached. It was the Fire Python tribe's team. "Hee, you're really lucky. You found the quest item so quickly." The leader, Zong Tu, had an arrogant look on his face. He was staring at the massive body of the demon bone dragon with intense eyes. "Damn it, why are these bastards here?" The Dragon Hammer tribe members' faces gradually darkened upon the arrival of the Fire Python tribe's forces, and a powerful surge of true energy emanated from their bodies. "Oh, so it's just a stray dog from the Dragon Hammer tribe. You can leave now. This bone dragon crystal core belongs to Zong." Zong Tu's eyes flickered slightly as he looked at Liu Feng and the others, then he smiled. Ji Lai laughed angrily. "What did you say? Go back to where you came from. If you dare to yell at me again, don't blame me for being ruthless. Then go ahead and make your move. You've offended Little Thunder King, and he's probably already waiting for you at the entrance to the 2nd level with his men. If you fight my Fire Python tribe here, I wonder if you'll still have the strength to enter the 2nd level." Zong Tu smiled as he looked at Liu Feng and Ji Lai. He naturally knew that the Dragon Hammer tribe was stronger than them overall, but he was also aware of their concerns, so he didn't show much apprehension in his words. As the saying goes, those who have nothing to lose are not afraid of those who have something to lose. In any case, the Fire Python tribe can afford to lose, and they don't face the same pressure as the Dragon Hammer tribe. Ji Lai sneered, about to lash out, when a fair hand pressed on his shoulder, and Liu Feng's calm voice came from beside him, "Give this bone dragon to them." "What?" Ji Lai looked at Liu Feng in shock and disbelief. If he hadn't heard it clearly, he would have thought he was hearing things due to tinnitus. He couldn't understand it. Why give the bone dragon crystal core to this bunch of scum? Why should they? Their strength was even greater than that of the Fire Python tribe, so why should they back down? "Listen to me this once," Liu Feng patted the other's shoulder. Then a sly smile appeared on his lips as he said to Zong Tu and the others, "This bone dragon crystal core is yours." Upon hearing Liu Feng's words, Zhang Yan and the others were taken aback, but after exchanging glances, they did not voice any objections. "Oh." A strange look flashed in Zong Tu's eyes. When did this kid become so easy to talk to? He agreed so readily, which made him feel that something was wrong. "Hee, Brother Inglong is indeed sensible. We'll take the bone dragon core then." Although Zong Tu was slightly taken aback by Liu Feng's decisiveness, he quickly smiled, gave a wink to the people behind him, and then, without any hesitation, he reached out and swung his fist, unleashing a fierce fist aura that transformed into a fire python in mid-air, instantly incinerating the skeleton army and blasting it towards the massive body of the demon bone dragon. As Zong Tu made his move, Liu Feng's smile deepened. This demon bone dragon's crystal core wasn't so easy to obtain. Bang! The fire python struck the massive body of the demon bone dragon, only forcing it back 4 or 5 steps without causing any real damage. Instead, it enraged the beast, causing it to roar to the sky and charge directly at the Fire Python tribe's group with earth-shattering strides. "Humph, you ignorant beasts," Zong Tu laughed instead of being alarmed, and immediately shouted to the people behind him, "What are you all standing there for? Form the Fire Python battle formation and finish this quickly." As soon as the words fell, the members of the Fire Python tribe felt a chill run down their spines. Many figures flashed and shifted positions, and the combined aura of the 10 people faintly formed the phantom of a giant python in the sky. This grand formation is similar in principle to the Fire Dragon battle formation of the Qilong tribe. Both involve combining the strength of everyone to concentrate energy at the head of the dragon and unleash a powerful attack. With a surge of energy, an incredibly hot tongue of fire spewed from the giant python's mouth, shooting out like a sharp arrow, piercing directly through the massive body of the demonic bone dragon and burning a charred hole in it. The bone dragon let out a mournful howl, its aura rapidly waning and weakening. The previous attack had already severely injured the behemoth. Just one more strike would be enough to complete the task. It's time to make a move. Ji Lai glanced at Liu Feng questioningly, ready to act immediately at the other's command. To his surprise, Liu Feng gently shook his head. Wait a little longer, it's not the right time yet. Ji Lai frowned, beginning to doubt Liu Feng's decision. If they didn't act now, the Demon Bone Dragon Crystal Core might really be taken away by the other party, and they didn't know when they would have another chance like this. At the same time, Zhang Tu also thought of this and kept a wary eye on the Dragon Hammer tribe. Clearly, he too was somewhat afraid of a sneak attack. However, their battle formation was already in place, and as long as they were careful, even if they were ambushed, they wouldn't suffer any losses. Without further hesitation, Zhang Tu and the others manipulated the battle formation. In mid-air, the fiery red giant python surged once more, suddenly spewing out an even hotter tongue of fire that burned the air into nothingness, shattering the head of the demon bone dragon in one fell swoop, creating a black, gurgling hole from which wisps of green smoke continuously emerged. Having defeated the demon bone dragon, Zhang Tu's eyes gleamed with joy. His figure moved like lightning as he eagerly rushed to the demon bone dragon's mountain-like corpse. With a single punch, he shattered the outer layer of bone, revealing a fist-sized blood-red crystal from which a moving energy fluctuation emanated. Just then, an extremely subtle fluctuation suddenly emanated from the body of the demon bone dragon. Liu Feng's pupils also suddenly contracted when that fluctuation was emitted. Sure enough, his senses were correct. There was indeed something else inside the demon bone dragon. Roar! A heart-shaking roar came from inside the bone dragon's corpse. The blood-red demon crystal suddenly flashed, and then a black aura rushed out from inside the bones, rushing towards Zhang Tu with lightning speed. Within the aura, there was a faint blood-red light flickering. Faced with such close proximity, Zhang Tu had no time to dodge, so he simply stopped dodging and threw a punch directly at the black aura in front of him. The punch was so fierce that even a body as hard as a bone dragon would be broken by this punch. However, this scene did not occur, nor was there even a loud bang. When the fist struck the black aura, it was as if it had hit a ball of cotton. Although the aura was dispersed, it still clung to Zhang Tu's hand like a maggot, and spread rapidly at a visible speed. Ah! Wherever the black aura passed, flesh and blood were immediately devoured. Under the horrified gazes of everyone, Zhang Tu was unable to dispel the aura and was quickly drained of his life force, leaving him as a skeleton. Ji Lai and the others couldn't help but gasp. What exactly was this black aura? Zhang Tu, whose strength had reached the peak of the 3rd rank, was killed so silently? Without the slightest power to resist? Buzz. However, what happened next was even more horrifying. In the originally empty eyes of Zhang Tu's skeleton, a blood-red flame suddenly ignited. Blood red surged in the sunken eyes, with wisps of black energy swirling around them. There was no emotion in them, only a pure and extreme desire for killing. This horrified gaze gradually shifted to the Fire Python tribes group, causing their expressions to change drastically, and a chill ran through their entire bodies from head to toe. Chapter 105 Evil Objects. Laugh. Zhang Tu suddenly turned his head, a fierce glint in his eyes, and with a fierce swing of his skeletal hand, a black light pattern swept out, tearing through the void. The sudden change caused the remaining Fire Python tribe youths to change their expressions drastically. Fortunately, they reacted quickly. As the black ripple swept over, they hurriedly activated their inner energy, which then formed a red light shield on their bodies. Bang! The powerful black light patterns transformed into a black streak that struck the light shields in front of him, and immediately, a series of deep explosions resounded. In an instant, the young man from the Fire Python tribe who was blocking the way was thrown into the air, spitting out blood. Those behind him were not spared either, clearly affected by the blast, their faces pale and their injuries severe. Having breached the Fire Python tribe's defenses, Zhang Tu grinned, his empty mouth seemingly forcing out an extremely ugly smile. Then, his figure flashed again, instantly appearing in front of the heavily injured Fire Python tribe youths. A vast black aura surged forth, transforming into a boundless black ocean that rapidly enveloped the group. Ah! The black aura spread out overwhelmingly, and the Fire Python tribe members were basically powerless to resist. They were swallowed up by this surging black ocean, letting out miserable roars. However, it was only for a moment before their entire bodies were merged into the black aura.
Wow.
The black ocean once again transformed into torrents, surging into Zong Tu's body from all directions, causing his aura to break through to the 4th level after absorbing a great deal of black energy. After wiping out the Fire Python tribe's forces, Zong Tu turned his gaze to Liu Feng and the others, his burning blood-red eyes revealing a bloodthirsty intent. So strong! Seeing how easily that eerie evil aura controlled Zong Tu and annihilated the Fire Python tribe in the blink of an eye, Ji Lai and the others felt a chill run down their spines, a sense of lingering fear washing over them. If they had gone to retrieve the Bone Dragon crystal core, they would probably be the ones in this state now. While secretly terrified, they also looked at Liu Feng with some gratitude. If the latter hadn't ordered them to give the Bone Dragon crystal core to the other party, the outcome would probably have been much worse than it is now. Yinglong, what do we do now? At this moment, everyone placed their hopes on Liu Feng. They believed that since he could predict the danger in advance, he must have already thought of a solution. However, they were all wrong. Liu Feng did sense the anomaly in advance with his powerful mental strength, but it was only a guess. He did not expect that this evil aura would be so troublesome, sending the Fire Python tribe back home in no time. Even he did not expect the situation to develop so quickly and become what it is now. Clearly, Zong Tu had no intention of giving them time to think of a countermeasure. Without any nonsense, he directly transformed his bone palm into a claw, carrying a sky full of black light, and rushed towards Liu Feng, who was standing at the forefront of the crowd. "Step back!" Liu Feng roared at the people behind him, then took a step forward, wielding the demon-slaying sword in his hand. Intense golden light flashed wildly on the blade, colliding heavily with the bone claws of Zong Tu. Hiss! Just as the golden sword light collided with the black aura, wisps of green smoke emerged from Zong Tu's bone claws. The black aura, which had been invincible and unstoppable before, encountered its nemesis for the first time. It seemed to be terrified of the golden light on the demon-slaying sword and quickly retreated. The bloodshot light in Zong Tu's eyes dimmed slightly for the first time. He retreated rapidly, a scorch mark about half an inch deep appearing on his bone palm, which took a long time to heal. After suffering a minor loss, Zong Tu did not attack again for a while, clearly showing great fear of the demon-slaying sword. Despite his fear, the demon-slaying light on the demon-slaying sword wasn't powerful enough to kill him. So the evil creature wasn't too afraid. It just became more cautious and was looking for an opportunity to strike. Pity! Liu Feng sighed inwardly. He realized that the demon-slaying sword could not unleash its full power in his hands. Otherwise, a single strike would have been enough to evaporate and annihilate all the evil aura, instead of just causing the damage he had just suffered. However, for the others, this was a lifeline, a glimmer of hope, causing Ji Lai and the others to be overjoyed. This black aura was incredibly troublesome. Once tainted, one would likely suffer the same fate as Zong Tuesday. But Liu Feng's demon-slaying sword seemed perfectly suited to counter this deadly black aura. How could they not be thrilled? In just a moment, Zong Tu once again burst forth, his body surging with black light. He paused in mid-air, then suddenly opened his mouth and spat out a black light like a lightsaber, extremely sharp, aiming straight at Liu Feng's brow with the speed of a meteor. Liu Feng reacted with remarkable speed, thrusting his sword forward, the tip of which met the black light sword precisely. Bite! A crisp metallic sound rang out, as if an invisible wave of power had erupted from the point of contact. The next moment, the ground beneath Liu Feng's feet collapsed instantly, and huge cracks spread out like a spider web. Liu Feng's feet were deeply embedded in the ground, clearly not expecting the attack to be so powerful. Although he had tried his best to neutralize it, the residual force still caused such terrifying destruction. Meanwhile, in mid-air, Zong Tu suddenly revealed a sinister smile on his ferocious face, his eyes blazing with an infinitely large rage. Immediately afterward, streams of evil black energy burst forth, transforming into dozens of black light swords behind him, tearing through the air at a speed imperceptible to the naked eye. Faced with Zong Tu's exceptionally fierce numerical offensive, even Liu Feng felt a slight chill run down his spine, and for a moment he felt helpless to defend himself. But Liu Feng was not one to sit idly by and wait for death. He stepped forward with his left foot and stepped back half a step with his right foot. He gripped the hilt of the demon-slaying sword with 2 fingers, and under his subtle control, the sword suddenly began to spin, like a propeller. This frantic spinning formed an impenetrable wall of sword energy. Ding 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 ding. Accompanied by a rapid, clear ringing sound, a dense wall of sparks appeared on the sword wall in front of Liu Feng. The countless black lightsabers were either shattered or deflected, and none of them even touched the hem of Liu Feng's clothes. Ji Lai and the others behind him stared intently at the two combatants, their eyes filled with shock. Liu Feng's swordsmanship was so advanced that they were amazed. It seemed that no matter what move he used, he could find a way to counter it and break it. Roar. Unable to break through after a prolonged attack, Zhang Tu, in mid-air, was clearly furious and had no intention of continuing to entangle with Liu Feng. He directly squeezed out strands of black light from his body, which were extremely viscous and quickly condensed into a black spirit ball-shaped energy body behind him. Under his frantic infusion, the black ball expanded at a rapid speed until it reached a diameter of about 10 zhang before stopping its growth and beginning to condense. The black sphere rose slowly, like a black sun, covering the entire sky and turning it black, as if the end of the world had arrived. Boom! Zhang Tu's eyes were filled with madness. Without saying a word, he threw the black spirit ball down and smashed it angrily at Liu Feng. Faced with absolute power, skills are no longer of any use. However, Liu Feng had no intention of using skills anymore. He directly gripped the demon-slaying sword in reverse and rushed towards the black ball like a meteor. With a sword strike imbued with full force, the black ball was instantly split in two, cleaved in two right in the middle. However, the overwhelming black aura did not dissipate. Instead, it surrounded Liu Feng from both sides like a tide, completely blocking his escape route and engulfing him. In just a moment, Liu Feng's figure could no longer be seen from the outside world. He was completely engulfed by the surging black aura. Upon witnessing this scene, Ji Lai and the others turned deathly pale. Chapter 1061 Sword Breaks Evil. They understood perfectly well that if Liu Feng were defeated, no one among them would be a match for Zhang Tuesday. At that time, the Dragon Hammer tribe would suffer the same fate as the Fire Python tribe, unable to escape total annihilation. Meanwhile, Zhang Tu cast its sinister gaze upon the remaining people. Liu Feng had already been tainted by the black aura and would soon be completely devoured and melted away, posing no threat. Next, as long as it eliminated and devoured these people in front of it, its strength would increase significantly. In this sacred land of the Wilderness Clan, these creatures are not illusions, but living, conscious, and autonomous beings. By absorbing the energy from the trial participants, they can advance and break through in strength. As for the younger generation of the Wilderness Clan who come in for the trial, although they will not truly die if they are killed in the Holy Land, their energy will be drained after they are teleported out, which means they will be devoured by these creatures. That's just how the rules are. The first king of the Wilderness Clan was already a sword king in ancient times. His supernatural powers were already beyond compare. This sacred land was created by him. Such methods can be described as unpredictable and beyond the imagination of ordinary people. Feeling the chilling intent in Zhang Tu's gaze, Ji Lai and the others couldn't help but shiver. The black aura of the other party had reached a point where it was all-pervasive, exceeding their understanding. Even Liu Feng had been defeated. Among them, who could be their opponent? Let's give it our all. Ji Lai's face was extremely ugly. He didn't expect to be eliminated on this level. His performance was even worse than in the last trial. But even if he couldn't win, he had to give it his all. Otherwise, he wouldn't deserve to be called the Dragon Hammer Warrior. Everyone, be careful and defend. The two balls of ghostly fire in the eye sockets of Zhang Tu, in mid-air, twisted for a moment, then became even more intense, clearly craving the flesh and blood of the people below. However, at that very moment, a deafening roar suddenly erupted behind him. Zhang Tu hurriedly turned around, only to find that the blazing black sphere had been shattered into pieces. After the smoke cleared, there was not a trace of anyone left. In his blood-red eyes, an extremely sharp sword light flashed, piercing through Zhang Tu's head with incredible speed. An aura of exorcism erupted from the demon-slaying sword, instantly disrupting the creature's consciousness. Bang! Seizing this moment, Liu Feng's arm transformed into a dragon, shooting out with a powerful punch that easily pierced through Zhang Tu's chest. He then swiftly withdrew his fist, revealing a fist-sized blood-red crystal in his palm. On the crystal, a strange light, as pure as fresh blood, slowly flowed. Bang! As the blood-red crystal core detached from his body, the crimson in Zong Tu, who had been filled with murderous intent, instantly lost its color. He then swayed and fell to the ground, his life force extinguished, and he shattered into countless pieces of bone. Outside the holy site, the forces from the desolate domain and the 8 major tribes set up camps on the flat ground, each occupying a position around the central rift. The elders of the desolate domain and the 8 major tribes all floated in the air outside the gate of the Holy Land, their gazes fixed on the gate of light. Suddenly, buzz! The light on the gate suddenly shone brightly, and then a figure was teleported out. Who is it? The dozen or so elders were all startled, their eyes flashing like lightning as they focused on the figure. However, once they saw the figure's face clearly, they all breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately, they're not from my Ironbone tribe, an elder with white hair and a youthful face said with a smile. Oh dear, Brother Tianfeng, this kid who was teleported out seems to be from your Dragon Hammer tribe. The leader of the Fire Python tribe, an old man in a red robe, said in a sarcastic tone. Upon hearing this, Elder Tianfeng's expression changed. As he watched the figure with a weak aura slowly approaching, his brows immediately furrowed into a deep frown. The young man was the Dragon Hammer clan member who had been killed by more than a dozen skeletons. He walked over with some shame and bowed in a low voice, saying, "Elder, what happened? Where are the others?" Elder Tianfeng asked anxiously. Losing one person was not a big deal, but he was afraid that the others might have encountered some fatal danger, which would be terrible. "Elder, please rest assured, everyone else is fine. I was ambushed because I was greedy for a moment," the young man said, bowing his head. "That's good." Hearing this, Elder Tianfeng's heart finally settled down. "Heh, you've already been eliminated on the first level, yet you still dream of the title of the Great Wilderness's #1 warrior. I reckon your Dragon Hammer tribe has no chance." The red-robed elder mocked from a short distance away. Elder Tianfeng remained non-committal, saying, "The trial has only just begun. What's the rush? Even if the people of my Dragon Hammer tribe don't become the #1 warrior in the Great Wilderness, they are still much stronger than your Fire Python tribe." "We'll see about that." The old man in the red robe sneered inwardly, a hint of coldness flashing in his eyes. Buzz! Just then, the light on the door shone again, and a figure was thrown out. "See? I told you your Dragon Hammer tribe didn't." Upon seeing another figure appear in front of the gate, the red-robed old man immediately launched into a sarcastic remark. However, this time, after he clearly saw the figure's appearance, the smile on his face suddenly froze. "Zong Tu, is that you?" Who else could the blood-robed youth be but Zong Tu, who was swallowed by the black aura? "How is that possible?" The old man in the red robe's face quickly darkened. Zong Tu was the main force of the entire Fire Python tribe team. If even he was eliminated, what could the others possibly achieve? Zong Tu wore a bitter expression, his mood shifting between light and dark. To be eliminated on the first level was an utter disgrace, something that hadn't happened in decades. However, just a moment later, the portal hummed again, and figures were teleported out one after another. There were exactly 10 people in Jiazhangtu, which was the entire force of the Fire Python tribe for this trial. This shocked almost all the elders. The entire team had been wiped out. Could it have been the work of some tribe? It was extremely rare for the entire team to be wiped out in the first level of the trial. "What's going on?" the red-robed old man asked with a dark face, his voice trembling with anger. The members of the Fire Python tribe exchanged bewildered glances, remaining silent until Zong Tu finally recounted the entire situation. "Such a powerful creature is hidden inside the demon bone dragon?" The red-robed elder looked surprised and suspicious. In previous trials, there were also mission items that used the demon bone dragon crystal core, but he had never heard of a second danger hidden inside the bone dragon. Why was this trial so special? If what they say is true, then this trial should be much more difficult than before, an elder said solemnly. Upon hearing this, the other elders' eyes lit up. If that was the case, then only one possibility remained. The difficulty of the trial wasn't unchangeable. It could be achieved simply by slightly altering the Holy Land's rules. Only one person possessed this privilege, the desolate King Xian Yi. Elder Tianfeng seemed to understand something as well, a thoughtful expression appearing on his face. Could it be that the increase in difficulty this time was to hinder their plan? This made him somewhat worried. If so, Liu Feng would probably be under a lot of pressure. Once the difficulty was changed, none of the trial teams would be spared, and they might all be wiped out. The old man in red robes understood the meaning behind the words, and then stomped his foot. Damn it, why does this kind of bad luck have to happen to my fire python tribe first? After saying that, he glared at Zhang Tu and the others, with a look of disappointment and frustration. Everyone lowered their heads, not daring to speak. Just as the red-robed elder was getting increasingly angry, Zhang Tu stepped out of the crowd, a faint chill on his lips, and said, "Elder, there's no need to be too upset. When we were killed by that evil creature, the people of the Dragon Hammer tribe were right next to us. I believe you will soon see them being teleported out." "Is this true?" The red-robed elder's expression immediately changed, revealing a hint of surprise. His smile was sinister and repulsive. Elder Tianfeng's expression changed rapidly upon hearing these words. Chapter 107 Avenging the Shame. Holy Land, First Level. Beyond the scorched earth stretching for thousands of miles, there is a dark gray mountain peak, weathered beyond recognition and riddled with holes. Inside the mountain, a spacious stone cave has been carved out at some unknown time, and Liu Feng is sitting cross-legged on a boulder in the center of the cave. If what Zhang Tu said is true, then Lei Quan must have been waiting at the entrance of the first level for quite some time now. Exhaling, Liu Feng took out the energy crystals from his void ring and began to slowly absorb the energy inside. Liu Feng wasn't afraid of Lei Quan. He didn't even consider Lei Quan a threat. What worried him was that if he were to confront the Zhang Lei tribe now, even if he won, he would likely suffer heavy losses on both sides. If he reached the second level, his numbers would be drastically reduced, making survival difficult. Therefore, he decided to try to raise his cultivation to the second level first. If he successfully broke through, then killing Lei Quan should not be a difficult task. The energy in crystals is very special and extremely pure. Although the energy has been severely depleted over the long years, the amount that remains and can be absorbed is still considerable. As the red energy entered his body, Liu Feng couldn't help but groan. What a wonderful feeling! His body felt like it had been parched for a long time, desperately absorbing the energy from the crystal without needing to control it at all. The energy contained in a pea-sized crystal is limited. Refining dozens of them is not as effective as refining a single thumb-sized crystal. After an hour, the energy in all 8 crystals was completely absorbed. The red energy, like a surging river, flowed down his arm into his body and began to spread out, covering his entire body, including his head. The faint red aura around Liu Feng intensified several times, dyeing his hair and clothes red, giving him a vibrant appearance. Another half-hour passed, and the red aura gradually faded until it was absorbed and became virtually undetectable from the outside. Not enough. Liu Feng muttered to himself, a hint of regret in his expression. The energy within these crystals was probably enough to allow any first-tier swordsman to advance to the second tier, but for him, it was far from sufficient. After all, his last breakthrough had already benefited from the true essence infusion of Mei Shi and Abai. This time, without the help of external forces, it would not have been so easy. However, even though he failed to break through, Liu Feng could still vaguely sense that the magic power in his body was not far from saturation, only a hair's breadth away. I wonder if this desolate spirit pill can lend me a hand. With a flick of his wrist, Liu Feng revealed a black pill exuding an ancient aura in his palm, from which a powerful life force burst forth. The preciousness of the desolate spirit pill lies in the boundless vital energy within it, which is born from the refining of 81 kinds of precious spiritual herbs. Its effects include not only greatly increasing the storage of true qi, but also enhancing physical strength. The intense essence in Ji Lai's body is largely related to the fact that he consumed 3 desolate spirit pills. After swallowing the desolate spirit pill in one go, the boundless vitality quickly spread throughout his body, reaching every part of his limbs and bones. A layer of black, desolate aura emanated from Liu Feng, enveloping his entire figure. I don't know how much time has passed. Buzz. The entire mountain suddenly began to tremble, and a sharp aura shot straight up from the mountain peak into the sky, like a peerless sword emerging from the heavens, tearing a large crack in the black aura of the sky, which lingered for a long time. Phew! Immediately afterwards, for tornadoes suddenly appeared around the mountain peak, sweeping in from all sides and enveloping the mountain. Sharp wind blades cut the mountain into pieces, stirring up clouds of rock dust and causing rocks to fall. This sword energy that soars straight into the sky, someone has broken through again. Which tribe's expert is it? Several miles away, 4 or 5 figures suddenly stopped and looked towards the dark red mountain where Liu Feng was. The momentum is very strong. It should be at the critical point of a breakthrough. Let's go take a look. Whoosh! The group of people moved swiftly, flying away at breakneck speed. In no time, the group arrived within 100 meters of the mountain peak, their eyes fixed on the raging tornado before them. To cause such a commotion, this person's strength must far surpass ours. Why don't we join forces and take care of him while he's breaking through? One of the bald youths suggested. I'm afraid that's not a good idea. We've already lost several brothers. I think it's best not to cause any more trouble and to find the bone dragon crystal core first, someone said worriedly. What's there to be afraid of? He's all alone, while there are 5 of us. What could possibly go wrong? Maybe this kid has a bone dragon crystal core on him, so we don't need to bother looking for it anymore, the bald youth said dismissively. Stop arguing, the green-robed youth at the head of the group frowned. They were a team from the Iron Bone tribe, and they had been unlucky in this trial. As soon as they entered, they were teleported to the territory of a high-level Shen-rank demon beast, and as a result, they lost nearly half of their manpower in one fell swoop, which made him very angry. Given their current condition, there's definitely no hope for them to enter the 3rd level. Since they have no hope, why let the others go? Thinking of this, a murderous glint flashed in the green-robed youth's eyes. I'll make the first move. You all watch from the sidelines. As soon as he comes out, kill him. Yes. The bald youth grinned, his gaze fixed menacingly on the mountain peak before him. Inside the mountain peak. When faced with a situation, it arises without hesitation. When a strong wind comes, it penetrates everywhere, blinding the eye and leaving no trace. At this moment, Liu Feng had completed the breakthrough process, but he had fallen into an even more profound realm. Just when he broke through, he actually comprehended a trace of the profound meaning of wind. Although this inspiration was only fleeting, as long as he could capture it, he might be able to understand the profound meaning of wind martial arts. Magic swordsmen are born with the ability to manipulate elemental power, which sets them apart from ordinary swordsmen. The essence of the wind's profound meaning lies in its formlessness, its shadowlessness, and its shapelessness. The creation of profound martial arts lies in these 6 words. A look of understanding appeared in Liu Feng's eyes. He had finally grasped a trace of the wind's profound meaning. Next, it would depend on individual talent. Creating profound martial arts was not something everyone could do. Some powerful swordmasters had comprehended the mysteries of elements, but had not created profound martial arts. Both steps were extremely difficult. Similarly, profound martial arts also have varying levels of strength. It's not that profound martial arts are necessarily stronger than ordinary martial arts. Legend has it that profound martial arts are divided into 5 levels: low level, mid-level, high level, ultimate, and supreme. Beyond that, Liu Feng didn't know, because he had never even heard of the higher levels of martial arts. They weren't recorded in any books. Someone's outside. Liu Feng raised his head, his spiritual energy spreading out as if he could see the scene outside. He sneered, just what I was looking for someone to practice with. You've come at the perfect time. Outside the mountain peak, a young man in green robes gripped his sword with both hands and brought it down heavily. Open it for me. Click. The mountain peak is split in 2, and the break is as smooth as a mirror. Just as the mountain peak split open, the green-robed youth saw Liu Feng spiraling upwards, smiling slightly at him, extending his right hand and flicking his sword finger lightly. Call out. The sword energy surged, like a laser beam traversing space. Danger! The green-robed youth felt a chill run down his spine and tried to dodge, but his reaction was too slow. The sword energy pierced his forehead, leaving a small hole between his eyebrows. The 4 members of the Iron Bone tribe watched from the sidelines. When they saw Liu Feng appear, they were about to make a move, but the result surprised them greatly. In a single exchange, their strongest member, the green-robed youth, fell down. The sword energy, no bigger than a little finger, was incredibly fast and killed in one strike. "Run!" the bald youth exclaimed in alarm and was the first to flee, followed by the others who immediately ran away with their heads in their hands. Liu Feng's lips curled slightly upwards. "Can you escape?" With a series of flicks of his sword fingers, incredibly sharp sword energy shot out in all directions, piercing through everyone's bodies in just a few breaths. In the blink of an eye, the Ironbone tribe's entire force was wiped out. Whoosh! At this moment, several whooshing sounds rang out, and figures appeared. It was Ji Lai and his group, who had rushed over with all their might. Seeing the scattered corpses on the ground, their faces couldn't hide their shock. Especially after seeing the green-robed youth's body, they gasped in horror. Wasn't this the strongest of the younger generation of the Ironbone tribe? How could he have been killed so instantly? In just a few minutes, the entire team had been wiped out, not a single one left. And judging from the wounds, they had been killed in one blow, their faces still showing traces of panic. The members of the Dragon Hammer tribe couldn't help but swallow hard. Luckily, Liu Feng was on their side. Otherwise, encountering him would have been a nightmare. Liu Feng's strength was too great. Even Ji Lai, at his current level, probably wouldn't dare say he could withstand 3 moves from him. It wasn't a lack of confidence, but rather the vast difference in skill and the opponent's rapid improvement. Ignoring the shocked looks on everyone's faces, Liu Feng remained calm and composed. He gazed into the distance, took a step forward, turned around, and said with a faint smile, "Let's go. It's time to send the Zhonglei tribe out." Upon hearing this, Ji Lai and the others were all shaken, and then their eyes filled with wild joy, and a fighting spirit quickly rose up. The time for revenge has finally come.